Morning, everyone. Richard Miller, and welcome to Never Not Here. And we're doing some more talks, as always. Love to get 2 or 3 a week in, so here we go. So please help me welcome Zahir Khan. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Richard. How are you, mate? Are you good?
I'm really good. Yeah.
Excellent. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, already our spirits are up because when you're on the home stretch of winter, you're feeling like, oh, let those storms come. I don't care what comes now. I know that just a few weeks and I'm home free, right?
That's it. That's it. It's all about being home free now. That's the beautiful thing now. It's just let it do what it does. I think, it's funny you should mention storms because, you're right. Come what may, whatever storm comes, you just, in a sense, you put your head down and you just carry on doing what you're doing. And that's what makes life so good. I'm finding it's a lot more dynamic now. I'm finding it's a lot more simpler. And really it's more really about engaging and really kind of going into life and stuff. Is probably don't know why I'm going to say this, but sometimes I think even the word term spiritual and stuff is a bit redundant, but I noticed a lot with spiritual types and stuff. There seems to be this kind of coming away from the world and stuff, and it's not really about that. It's about actively, sort of like, in a sense, engaging life and taking part in things and really kind of living life in a dynamic way. And
I really like that, engaging, because I think that another way of saying, so many people say you are that or I am that. And it's both. That's two separations. I is a separation, and that is a separation.
Of course.
Wouldn't it be great to just say we are this, whatever we is? It sounds like it's plural, but it's not separate from here. And it's just say we are this, and so then engagement is a part of it.
Of course. You know what it is? It's there has been a lot of emphasis, like in a sense, like on wordplay, and it's kind of really good because what you said earlier, that come what may now, the storms and stuff, after the storms there's always sunshine. And I think that's what's happening, and that's where this engagement's kind of happening now. It's like a case of it really is irrelevant how it's said. Say like we is, we are this, we is this, God, we are this, and just kind of engage, get into life really, because that's really where it's at, and that's where there's more of an appreciation.
Hey, brilliant! Brilliant what you said. We is this, because then it leaves a doubt. Like, what is this we? Because it is.
we is whatever you want it to be, and is whatever you want it to. It's people just get so. It's something that it's like I've started talking to people that websites come up, everything, the whole way. So it's just like, go away, don't do this, forget about this, forget about the actual concept. And forget about the actual seeking, because you put, something like you just said about, I am that. There's a separation in it, and the concept and the seeking is a separation. The minute life doesn't need to be done or taught or anything. It just is, and even that complicates it. And it's just really about, in a sense, just go home. If you're here and you're listening, just go home and just do the rest of your life. I was talking to this really lovely girl over in Italy, and she was telling me about how she'd spent all this time doing all of this and that. And I was like, look, you're a young woman, you're beautiful, go out, fall in love, do some things, go paint, whatever you want to do. And she's out there, she's doing her thing, and that's a beautiful thing to see, actively engaging life. The whole seeking and looking for something and then going back into life is just, okay. Somebody will say, well, look, it's just another example, of course, but it's not where it's at now. Really, where it's at now is really about just actively going out there, engaging things. I mean, what we're seeing happening around the world now with like all these tsunamis and everything, it's really just an internal battle taking on an external feature, and the external is taking on internal, and it's really us. We're really doing this to ourselves, really, which kind of shows another dimension to this, because in one way we're saying, we're just thoughts, but in another way we're so out. Somebody asked me about the law of attraction and would it hold in the whole non-dual thing, and I was like, well, yes, of course it does, because there is that whole co-creator, the creator, and all this stuff. We're not separate from anything, so all of this that's happening, we can, in a sense, really heal this as well. By actively going out there, engaging. It's just don't engage in a way whereby fear is met with more fear. Fear should be, in a sense, met with love. Hate should be met with love, but not in some kind of I'm going to hand you a flower kind of way. Really, in an active, dynamic way. And this is a very simple kind of. I remember reading something about Krishnamurti, and he kind of always talked about living and all this stuff, and it was like, yeah, but that's really appreciated, because this is really, it's to say the word philosophy wouldn't do it justice, but this is a very, very, in a sense, active way, and really positive way of living, one in which flow is recognized.
What came to me is you were saying engage life, but for so long we've been engaging the philosophy of life, or we've been engaging the teaching, or we've been engaging with teachers, and trying to work it around. And I was thinking that expectation that we're going to get something was really a problem, because what came to me is like, we don't agree with anyone. Nobody agrees with another person, and we never accept what you say. You don't accept what I say. I don't accept what you say. And I keep looking around trying to verify my own beliefs. I ask the same questions to everybody. So really the answers are really not very helpful at all. And so then if we just stop engaging that question and answer and teaching and understanding, and just go to work at life, that might be the direct route.
You know what it is? It's something you just said. Really, the whole thing's an internal thing. And I don't know if this statement will sit right or not, but it's, in a sense, asking the right questions of yourself. And that's the whole thing. In simple terms, to say it is just this, you are that, it is. But the thing is, that in a sense is a concept, and the whole thing is to, in a sense, let go of all concepts, let go of all of that stuff. Even letting go of concepts becomes another concept. But the thing is, it's really just about life, and whatever life throws. And what you're saying, yeah, that's the way it should be. In a sense, we can go to teachers and stuff, and we can kind of learn about stuff and how I get spiritual time, and that's in a sense lovely. But again, this engaging life, even engaging life, let's even break that term down. Engaging life. There's somebody who's engaging life. That shows that, in a sense, there is this idea of separation, and the idea of separation isn't such a bad thing as well, really. But separation in the right way, in a sense of there is this life, I engage through it, and so I am that thing. I am that thing I seek. Yet, for the bounds of, in a sense, for the bounds of reality and creation and all that stuff, there is this idea of Zach, engages life, like he gets up, he does this or he does that, and in a sense of in a sense, this time of conceptualizing and everything, in a sense, is kind of like really just kind of over. If we look at what's going on, even in a macro or micro way, all the conflicts that are going on, it's really just this question kind of looking for itself, looking for its answer. I was a hidden treasure, I wish to be known, and that's what it's doing now. But what's happening is this is where the theories and ideas are kind of, in a sense, falling apart, because it's all very well theoretically knowing this. Someone said something to me about a chocolate bar. It's all right to know it's a chocolate bar, but it's another thing to taste it. And that's the whole thing. It's like, ask of yourself the questions, ask of yourselves, do what you feel is right, because you are your own question, your own answer. And if a teacher appears in that story, or a concept or an idea appears in that story, do not, in a sense, make that your God. In a sense, if you're going to go to these people, actually listen to them, because it's funny, because I mean, I'm back in England now, and there's like a massive so-called Sufi teacher, and he has a TV channel, and he does this program where he kind of dissects Rumi and kind of explains it, and you see the same faces, and I was watching it one day, and I went, this. I watched this for comedy value, and everybody was like, how can you say that? I was like, because if they were to actually really listen, there wouldn't really be a need to be there. In a sense, it's like the whole idea of a teacher within, say, the Sufi tradition is he holds up a mirror to you, and you see yourself, behold the glory that is you, and then the teacher, the mirror, you all cease to exist, kind of thing. And the thing is, that's where really, in a sense, it's like, if a teacher's there, the role of a teacher should really not be to educate or to teach, but to, in a sense, kind of always just constantly, in a sense, point back. Now, I said that, I've kind of got myself in a trap there, I can see, but there you go. I'll let that one go and everything, because I know people will be thinking something now, which is good. But in a sense, this is all an internal thing, because afterwards, when it all kind of just disappears and stuff, you find there's this immense freedom in which you can talk in any way you really kind of, in a sense, want time, kind of whatever, really. But that's really where it's at. There is, in a sense, a very practical way of living, but not in some sort of a methodology, not some sort of a, oh, okay, there's a certain thing I must do, or there's a certain thing the problem with any kind of approach or any kind of a thing that we're discussing is sooner or later it becomes a victim of success. It stagnates because what happens is wordplay is engaged into, or people want to, in a sense, people really want, in a sense, kind of create something out of it so the mind can kind of go, okay, I get this, but it's not something that the mind is there to kind of, in a sense, get. The mind is essentially not a bad thing as well. Everyone beats up on the mind and all of that stuff. The mind does what the mind does. It's there. It has a function. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, then people beat up on the idea of, oh, I need to, stop thinking so much. Well, that's not such a bad thing as well. So now everyone's going, oh, hold on, but where does that take it? It takes it back to exactly where it was at the beginning, which is when that moment of separation happened, or whatever happened, it was life, and it's always going to be life. And even if you try to get away from it by saying, I'll get spiritual, or I'll take a concept, or I'll take a teacher or something, it's still life. You're never going to get away from it. So why look for it? You're already it.
That's kind of where I'm at, is that I can see the difference, what comes toward this moment and what leaves it. And somehow I can play with what leaves it, but I never believe that that's going to bring me closer. And so then all kinds of theories and stuff are fun to play with, but really, I don't take them too serious. Yeah. I don't take them too serious.
It becomes fun. It becomes fun in games, but also at the same time, it can, in a sense, kind of get tiring when you get somebody kind of coming up to you and they're coming out with stuff, and it's standard. It's a standard way of talking of some kind of a spiritual approach. It's, and you're like, I'm hearing you, but I'm not really, in a sense, hearing you. I always kind of tend to say, well, okay, let me hear you. You tell me. And that's in a sense a danger. That's kind of, in a sense, kind of, people are kind of seeing through it now. That really, that it isn't about one particular approach. It's not about one particular idea or one particular way of talking. The immense freedom is that you can talk that way, you can take that approach, but you can also take another, because they're all different colors of, in a sense, the rainbow. And it's just that's where it's at. Just
in one way, it kind of works like this with me. Like everything creates a reaction, right? Every sight, every sound, and every word and every sentence actually creates some kind of a reaction. And I can either go with that reaction, or with the comfortable or uncomfortableness of that reaction. Or I can just watch it. And I've been more and more watching it, because I say this because I talk with so many people, right? And there's no way I could agree with everyone. And there's no way that I really filter everyone to be on my channel, in other words, to be on my wavelength, that they say things that I'm going to like. And so then I'm going to react to some things they say. And then at first, I was always wanting to put my 2 cents in there. Oh, yeah, I should say something there. No, he skipped 3 things. I'm not going to remember that other one to put my comment on there and reverse it, or say it in a different way, or say, how about this, And so then...
You do that with me all the time.
Yeah, I do that with you all the time. But now I'm more and more like just listening to people and just feeling my reaction, and just feeling it and just staying with them, and then letting all my... Well, they're my reactions and my brilliant ideas that would fit with this one and that one and this one, let them go down the river, because, really, I see that's some kind of it's just a reaction, right? It's just my particular conditioning popping up.
It's in NLP, they talk about this thing called the reticular activating system. And I used to work at his place in Glasgow, and our boss was really, really hot on the whole self-help thing. And this reticular activating system, kind of the theory went that everything you hear, you filter. You filter from your own worldview and stuff. So 2 people can hear the same conversation. They'll take two wildly different kind of viewpoints of it. So really, in a sense, no one really listens. Nobody really listens, and no one really wants to, in a sense, even kind of, in a sense, go free. There's no one really going to go free, because there is only freedom. What we really want is, we want to prove that we're right.
Right. I was just saying that in the beginning. I was just saying that, we don't believe anything that someone else says.
No, of course
and we don't believe they answer to any of our questions either, because if we did, we wouldn't ask that question anymore. We'd be complete on that question. But we always ask it again and again and again, right?
Well, that's the experience of, when you talk to a lot of these communicators, and they kind of say that if you listen to any of these communicators, what you'll find is they're saying the same thing over and over again. And not really in a sense the whole theory or logic is that, but the idea tends to be that somebody can hear the same thing over and over again, and then one day something might happen. They might kind of in a sense pop or get it. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking, and I kind of went through a phase of the whole "it's just this." I remember one day just turning around saying "it's just this," and he looked at me and he was like, "I really do get it." And it's just the look in his eye was, "You do actually get it, don't you?" And it was in a sense because of the fact that this repeating had kind of gone on. But then what happens over time is it just becomes so much more simpler. And the need to even, in a sense, kind of talk of it, know of it, and everything kind of dissipates because, I remember a friend of mine years ago kind of came out with this whole ignorance is bliss thing. And in a sense, ignorance is bliss because that way it's just being done. It's not even being done. See, this is where it, in a sense, falls down because what we have now is a language couched in you and me. There's always kind of got to be a separation, and that's where, in a sense, people have tried to kind of get around it, and people like me just kind of went, "No, forget it, let it go." Um, but yeah, I've lost my train of thought. But there
Well,
you
I mean,
go.
I thought about that several times. I was reading somewhere that, okay, Buddha spoke in Magadhi. I don't know what that language is, but very old language, probably not even written. And then some of his writings were written down in Pali and also in Sanskrit. And then most of the writings were in Chinese when people went to China and practiced Buddhism. So Chinese they were saying, is this particular article I read, is a language that doesn't have very many parts of speech. Everything is inferred or just known. Somehow it's just known. So then the parts of speech in the Western Cartesian languages, almost everything has its objective form. Like there's so many nouns. And we just speak in nouns, like noun makes me separate than the thing, Whereas a verb is just integral to me. It's part of me. I just use the example wisdom. If it's a noun, it's written down in a book somewhere, and it's a thing. Wisdom is a thing. But if it's a verb, it's just like me being here and being able to be conscious and watch. It takes presence, and it also takes consciousness, wisdom. And it doesn't have anything to do with objective, and it's not separate from me. And that's just one, But so many things are actually not things. Like truth is not a thing. Certainly silence is not a thing. There's no such thing as silence. There's not even any such thing as darkness. It's just the absence of light. Truth is the absence of confusion or something like that. Silence is the absence of
This is
noise.
where it all gets kind of, in a sense, complicated.
So those words don't have any meaning. They're nothing words or no thing words.
Yeah, see, the no thing word, that's just another thing that can be grasped onto.
Well, yeah, you could say that is, but I
people...
mean, if you right away you're saying that there's a problem there because you think that you're searching for the truth, and there's no truth to search for. It doesn't exist, and you'll never find it. The truth
it exists.
Is just what is.
It's the only constant. It's the only constant, and it's what exists, and that's why, in a sense, it's been kind of like the wrong way around. People have been looking for something, and what it could possibly be. It's like the journey of the seeker starts off with this whole idea of there's something that has to be got, and then everything will feel better. But if you actually ask, I remember asking somebody, I was like, well, look, this enlightenment thing, whatever you want to call it, go, what's it going to be like when you get there? And there was just this blank look on the face. It was like kind of, because it's not something that they want to deal with. So in a sense, finding, it's never about finding, because the thing is, it's in seeking, only seeking can, in a sense, happen. And that was the whole thing. It was a case of I couldn't answer that question because I don't know. And because I can't imagine that would happen to me. That's where, in a sense, a lot of seekers fall over, because they can never, in a sense, imagine that this would happen. It's one thing to, but that's where, in a sense, it shows there's a vested interest in the seeking, because after a while, seeking takes on a life of its own, and it gives that person purpose. And that's why they don't want to find, because why would you want to lose your purpose? When you become a committed spiritual seeker, and you have to listen to every clip, and you have to go and see every teacher, and you have to know what's bigger and better, or read the next book, there's no incentive to ever want to actually wake up. but but at the same time, they're wanting to be free is in a sense a dirty little secret. It's like in their heart. It's something that I find amongst seekers in the sense that they'll hang around people that they feel are liberated, which is another kind of contradiction in itself, and they will profess to everybody that they don't want to actually be free, but yet within themselves it is what they really want. So there's a contradiction going on, and as that clash carries on, that paradox can in a sense show that there's just something which is perfect, which is kind of in a sense unknowable and talkable of, yeah, this kind of stuff happens. Yeah, that contradiction is what kind of keeps all the confusion and stuff. And even then, if that contradiction doesn't get resolved, it's not liberation. It never is liberation we're looking for. It really is just an event or a knowing of some sort. Buddha, like, we were talking about Buddha, caused a lot of hassle sitting under that tree, really, because he created this idea in the minds of billions of people, because we're in a sense, we're all kind of looking for something. He created this idea in everybody's heads that there has to be an event, yet there doesn't have to. And it doesn't matter how many other people have said there doesn't have to be an event, it's never going to be listened to, because of this idea that Buddha sat under a tree, or the first enlightened guy, or the first guy sat under the tree did that. So that's kind of in a sense, it's, what it is, this is like in a sense almost like that bird who's teasing you. She's kind of teasing you. She's kind of going, "Yo, you want to know?" and all this stuff, and you're there, and you're thinking, "I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this," and then she pulls back, and you think, sooner or later, and then eventually, what you do is you just think, you know what, go away, I don't want to know. And then all of a sudden, when you go away, I don't want to know, she's interested all of a sudden, because she's just realized that she doesn't have that hold. And this is the problem. I can't believe I just managed to relate that to seeking, but there you go. But
I just get it about Buddha. The trouble is that he left the tree. See, because the moment he left the tree, something happened, right? He should have stayed under the tree and never left.
Then we would never have heard of Buddha, and then this thing would have never happened. The thing is this, it's like, it comes down to that whole, I was a hidden treasure, I wish to be known. And that's where the hassle is. It's the hidden treasure that wishes to be known, which means it wants to be known, which means it will start every single enticement under the sun to start this. And what we're seeing now is that it wants to be known in a massive way, in both individually and both around the world, because it's just, if we look at, it was something that you said in the last interview, and I remember it was like, that was the reason I actually tried to interview, well, I interviewed you back, because it was like, I was saying it's all wordplay, and you were like, but what about what's happening in the news and stuff? And then we got round to it that, look, yeah, it's see, life is in a sense kind of questioning, answering itself right now. It's happening. You can actually relate everything that's happening, current affairs, to this whole wanting of people wanting to go home and not understanding why they want to go home and all this stuff. And what's happening is, and the reason this healing isn't happening, and the reason that in a sense nobody's happy, is because this is getting in the way. The concept is getting in the way. The idea of a teacher is getting in the way. They inherently have a good idea. It's they're kind of, forget the inherently bit. They serve a purpose, but what's happening is we've taken, in a sense, it's something I'm seeing a lot across a lot of communities. People are taking their teachers and turning them into gods, and that's where the problem lies. It's like, in a sense, that the concept has become God itself. The idea has become God itself, and that's where it goes wrong and everything. But we won't even play with the idea of God. We'll leave that alone, and that's why, in a sense.
But isn't that what they did? For ages, actually, the guru was always a god. Bhagwan meant God, didn't it? And now I would say people are actually getting more out of just a regular guy. Like, okay, you're just a regular guy, and people can get more out of you because they can relate and say, hey,
no, you know what it is.
If he can do it, I can do it.
No, the concept with the Bhagwan thing is something that's kind of very, very. It's something that's kind of, it's something that was local to like the Indian subcontinent and the Middle Eastern places. Well, no, the Indian subcontinent and stuff and everything. And it's something that's something that's happened from, shouldn't really have happened in Advaita Vedanta, but it has. And it shouldn't really have happened in Sufism, but it has as well. And the way it works is this, it's like this. There was a man, and he once said, he goes, it was a reality without a name. And in a sense, this is where we're kind of, in a sense, going to. It was a reality without a name, and now it is a name without reality. And the name without reality is when a concept, not a concept, when an idea, or not even an idea, when this is, in a sense, somebody tries to formulate it. It's like, for example, if you look at Jesus, when Jesus spoke, it came from a position of just freshness. It was something that was happening in the moment. Afterwards, the Gospels, divinely inspired 40 years later, tried to, in a sense, kind of put this stuff down on paper. And that's where it started kind of stagnating and stuff. Because if we look at this whole ebb flow of life, it's something that you said back then, and I've got to say, you've got to celebrate that as well. All of this has to be celebrated as well, because what's happening is it's just showing life. It's showing the rise and fall. And that's what's right, in a sense, happening now. I mean, at this moment in time, even though everything's kind of going Pete Tong, it's actually a good thing as well. Pete Tong is slang for wrong, by the way. Because of the fact that I'm gonna stop doing this to myself. Because of the fact that, in a sense, it's answering itself now. The Bhagwan thing, though, I mean, it's just basically that's where we were. The Bhagwan thing is just basically where people have kind of misunderstood things, and they've looked. What did they say? If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. What happened this time around was when they met the Buddha on the road, they garlanded him. I thought God walked amongst us, and it's a misinterpretation of something. It's like the Sufis argued for many, many years. They said, well, if God could talk to Moses through a burning bush, why can he not talk through man? And what's happening is the appreciation of that has been lost, and people have been given godlike, abilities. Supposedly God walked the earth and stuff, and that's where it starts getting a bit silly, because the thing is, yes, on one level that can be argued as being right. People have made these ecstatic utterances of, under my cloak there's nothing but God, but in one sense it's seen as wrong as well. In life it's actually wrong, because the thing is, life has a structure. There's a structure to all of this, and when you tear at the very fabric of society and stuff, then what happens is it creates anarchy. Now this, in a sense, this practical, dynamic, simple way of living that can be seen through, in a sense, allows you to engage society. It's in a sense, it's like, be of this world but not of it. So in a sense, engagement is happening. There is that idea of, yes, okay, fine, this is an illusion, this isn't real and stuff. Yet at the same time, it's kind of, that thing is recognized, but at the same time, engagement still happens. It makes it a very practical, dynamic way forward.
So when you're looking back, sometimes you see a lot of masters, right? I mean, it seems like so many real masters were in the past. And of course, the creators of our major religions are past figures. And then you can even say, Mozart, Beethoven, people in the past seem to have something that maybe doesn't come up now, everything's more commercialized or something like that. Or I wonder if you could say that the population as a whole, society as a whole, is way more abstract now. In other words, we're so much into living virtual life. Virtual not necessarily meaning the internet or something, but virtual meaning in our thoughts. Like we're living the life of interpretation much more than the authentic life of just be. And so then that can't a new master can't sprout in this atmosphere.
No, he can. He can. But the thing is, he wouldn't be a master. He'd be. See, what you remember is something that you said about the past masters. Now, the thing with the whole idea of past masters is, who made them masters? We did. We create our gods, we create our masters, and we destroy our masters. It's like I was reading this book on economics, and it was all about Pareto efficiency. And the author goes that if you look at it this way, it's even the relationships you form with people as well. Like they say, in essence, in life, you'll form 5 to 6 relationships. And they conducted an experiment in America whereby they took women from broken homes and put them with middle-class families in order, in a sense, kind of change their worldview and everything. And what happens is that the experiment was a disaster. The reason it was a disaster was because the women were already emotionally spent. They'd already formed their relationships. Now, relationships are important, and it's one of the reasons this is how masters are, in a sense, created. If you look at Jesus, they go, Jesus wouldn't have been known if it hadn't been for St. Paul's. St. Paul literally did all of the work for him. He did the heavy work of propagating the ideas. Jesus sat there and spoke. If you look at the Prophet Muhammad, he had his disciples, the Sahaba, who were the companions, who then basically after his death went out and they spread this idea. And that's how we create these masters. In one sense, we do them a service. It's done out of love. I mean, somebody goes to, say, for example, see Muji, thinks they're absolutely amazing, goes tell 10 other people. In a sense, they're doing that same thing that, say, a disciple was doing or a companion was doing. in one sense it's good, but what it also does is it also demonstrates life, in the sense that then what happens is the person gets out, they're known, they talk, and eventually what they start saying stagnates as well. It's written down, it's put down onto YouTube or whatever, and eventually their time passes and they go on, and then somebody else kind of comes along as well. Now that's not something that should be like, oh God, well that's not a very good thing, I'm going to be up there for a while and then gone. It just shows life, that life with its ups and downs, the very act of living is always giving you answers, is always the answer to the thing you look for. The very act of living, the thing is, if you were to, in a sense, now this isn't a method, but if you were, in a sense, just to kind of notice the day-to-day things you do, and that would be enough to end any seeking that you were engaged in or not engaged in. I heard of a guy, there's a friend of mine in India, and she was actually saying to me, she goes, it's a friend of hers, just completely just there. He's just living in the moment. Talk to him about seeking, he just looks at you blankly, doesn't know. It's just something that's just happened. No event, no nothing, it's just life. And this is the thing, we're caught up in concepts. In the West now, we're caught up in concepts. We're looking outside ourselves. I mean, even if we look at the whole spiritual movement, we're looking eastwards. The East is looking westwards, because the East is looking at, oh my God, we want all these material goods. The West is going, well, we've got all these trinkets. And I don't get it. If I buy myself another aftershave, if I buy myself another car, if I buy myself another pair of jeans, or if I buy myself another pair of clothes, I don't get it. What will fill this hole? So then you look eastwards. So in a sense, we're always looking outside ourselves, and that's where the problem lies. But at the same time, it also demonstrates life, because that which is looking at is actually looking back at itself. That's what Saint Francis of Assisi said. So the thing is, we're in a sense always kind of questioning and answering simultaneously, and that's what makes it so cool, that life, just whichever way it is just already perfect.
I haven't talked to Muji this year, but I did. I remember last year when he came back from India, and he just said, I said it all. Like, I don't want to go out anymore. I don't want to travel anymore. Not forever, but I mean, finally they pressured him to go here and there, and it started up again, right? But he just, he felt the yen for renewal, and just for authenticity. I remember that last year.
There's this wanting to be out there, and there's this wanting to this and that. And, eventually the rejuvenation has to happen. There has to be some time, in a sense, just kind of doing the day-to-day things. Otherwise, it's not normal. And that's it. Whatever's happening is just in a sense happening perfectly. The fact that, like you're saying, just Muji just wants to, in a sense, calm down and just sit there and maybe just do the things, is just, that's a demonstration. That's a huge demonstration. It's a demonstration of life. It's like, in a sense, saying, well, do you really even need to be here? Look, this is what I'm doing. The words don't really even have to kind of, in a sense, come to it. It's like I'm kind of going through a phase of, I've come back home to Coventry, and I'm enjoying nice home cooked meals. I'm enjoying long walks. I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing. And it's cool. I talk to Richard, and that's cool. If that happens, great. And if it doesn't happen, that's great. And if somebody kind of, in a sense, turns up, that's great, and wants to talk, that's great. And if nobody wants to turn up, that's great. And in a sense, it's the more, seeking brings out the idea that there's somebody to jump into this. And when we step in the way of, and this is the important bit, if we step into the way of ourselves, that's where we cause problems for ourselves. Is when that whole idea of I can do something kind of jumps in. So I get up every morning and I really don't know how my day is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. Yet I find that there's more productivity. There's more of this wanting to engage life. There's more of this wanting to just do ordinary things. The whole idea of non-duality and all these different approaches now has become such, in a sense, a distant memory.
I had a really wonderful experience where somebody asked me to create a movie out of some certain raw materials, and this one poet was saying, he gave really something beautiful. He said, we have a reminder in our skies, the moon, and it goes through its cycle. And so something about us humans, we believe that we're always supposed to be waxing and never waning. And that we're always supposed to be growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so then he's saying, but just look at the moon and then just look out your window. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that doesn't go through these cycles of building up and regressing. Sort of, it seems like regressing or somehow going into quiet. And so then even just to say, like, I'm a master, okay, there's something to be said, there's somebody to listen to it, and then there's just a waning where...
Two things for that. I love the way you said that. I was so glad you brought that. It was two things for that. Firstly, there are signs for the men of understanding. In a sense, look out, look at the moon, look at whatever. It makes sense. Then there's the other one. It's Rumi said once, he goes, sometimes you look at a tree in winter and it seems inactive. It seems like it's doing nothing, but it's actually bringing up nutrients from the ground. It's working furiously away. And then we look at summer and it's blooming and we think, oh, the tree's doing something now. But the tree's not actually doing anything now. It's just displaying. And that's it. In a sense, there's just this ebb and flow. It really is just life. All of this is just life. And life, however, which way it takes you, whether you're stuck in a concept or you're stuck in seeking or you're stuck in I'm trying to get this or you're stuck in I need to kind of take some time away from this now. I've been doing this for years, or whatever, it's just inherent. You know what? I've decided I really do want to meet Muji. I think I want to meet this guy for a cup of coffee or something. Just kind of say, hi, mate, how you getting on? Not to, in a sense, talk. He just sounds like a bit of a geezer. I just think, I just really, honestly, I think, it's really funny because he's kind of like, in my radar kind of thing. Yeah. And it is, I think it's a case of, I think I'd like to just kind of sit with the guy and just kind of, have a smile and stuff because,
you would love it. You would love it. He's just a really, he's a lover. He's a beautiful guy.
Listen, we're all lovers, mate. We're all lovers. Really, I think, you know what it is? It's like this. It's, I don't think there's even really want to go to a meeting or anything like that. Just a case of, just sit there, chill out with the guy, talk about the sports or whatever, who's going to win the World Cup or, whatever really. But see, that's something so much more powerful. I remember once at that first interview we ever did, and it was like, we were going at each other, and I can remember turning around and I said, look, you're going to the East, you learn this dead language and stuff. But, if you look at the people out there, they're doing something better. They're doing life. But there you go. This is it. It's, forget the East, forget the West. It's in a sense, just do life, and life is just perfect. I was saying to people, look, just go out there, fall in love. If you want to read another book about this, go for it. If you want to go do something, go for it. Just do it, though. Just really, in a sense, really just engage it. Just really go out there. Whatever you feel is right.
So for me, this metaphor of the moon and waning and waxing and waning, more or less it just says, okay, whatever's happening now is acceptable, and actually celebrate that. And what it is in a way, it's like a inoculation against anxiety, and somehow without the anxiety, the anxiety forces seekerhood probably. And without that, the seekerhood can kind of relax and just see what's here.
No, what it is? It's something you said about acceptance. It's about acceptance of everything. It's in a sense, I want to kind of go back to that. In a sense, it's that, but it's so much more dynamic, and that's what makes it kind of cool. And the seekerhood relaxing thing, it's like, let's not even go there. So I remember talking to this guy once, and he kind of said something about take this and take that. It contradicts itself. Put it away. In a sense, it is. Yeah, in a sense, it's just like just put it away, and then it will just go. Life is an adventure.
Well, it isn't, let me see if I understand what you're saying, because isn't, it's coming to me that seekerhood is the non-acceptance of the cycle of waning and waxing. You don't want to wane. And so then you got to seek.
It's still life.
It's still life, but if you just say, okay, that cycle is normal, then you can just take those nutrients in your roots, just as you said about that tree in the winter.
That was Rumi. He said that.
Yeah, but you repeated it.
I repeated it. You know what? It's really just about really just there. Even saying the word there is just complicating it. It's just, more is silence, no silence, words, no words. It just becomes a huge irrelevancy. Yet, God, you know what? Paradoxically, it's so relevant as well. To someone it's relevant, to somebody else it's irrelevant, and it's just
Something else I heard, actually, I was doing the same film. I was working on this film, and I had this poet, and he said something I think was brilliant. But he said, like, I don't have the right words to exactly how he said it, because he kind of introduced it in a very nice way, but I'll just say it grossly, that kind of like the human problem is to accept or just reach out and take your own happiness. Somehow something about that is I don't deserve that, or somehow I need to manipulate the externals before I'm allowed to have that. And somehow that just embracing your own happiness is like the most huge challenge.
Well, the thing is, we were conned. We were all conned. Society's been set up on a huge con. Everything's done in a way for people not to want to, in a sense, kind of recognize what they are. We're running. It's like that whole. You're talking about waxing and waning. We're like those gerbils. We're running on that little spinning wheel. We just don't want to recognize ourselves. And that whole. If man was to just kind of, in a sense, stop and stare, see the entire world in a grain of sand. They're paid, kind of, in a sense. This is. See, what's happening now is authenticity is kind of, in a sense, happening. It's a sense of like people are waking up and saying, I just don't really want to play this game anymore. If I want to walk down the street like this, I want to walk down the street like this. It's like in my hometown, basically, I look at the people and they're just kind of, in a sense, shuffling along and stuff. But does that mean that if I see someone, I won't smile at them? I'll smile at them. If I don't smile back at me, it doesn't really bother me. It's just a case of, well, I'll smile at you, and that's kind of cool. It's like, in a sense, authentic. Authenticity is just being what you are, what you really know what you are. There's so many people out there and they really know what this is. They really, really do know what this is, and even by me saying what this is, I'm complicating. We'll put that away. In a sense, they know what life is and they know what they need to do. And they really do need to, in a sense, go take their journeys. And sooner or later, every single one of their doors will be closed and they'll have to do what they have to do, in a sense. And this is the thing. Society, in a sense, can heal itself right now. When people are real to themselves and they're authentic to themselves, cut the drama, stop the bullshit, pull all the crap out of the way. Just really, in a sense, just be what you are. Do what you feel. If you want to be an astronaut, then be an astronaut. It's funny because I live in this town and it's just it has this huge history. Coventry was once the capital city of Great Britain. The Magna Carta was written here and stuff. And I talk to people here and they're shuffling about. And it's just because of this whole need for authenticity. They just are afraid. They're afraid because of the way they've been spoon-fed this diet of, oh, the world out there is a crazy place, or it's this, and people conform. And the thing is, because they're not, in a sense, listening to what they really are, that question and answer that's going on, it's happening in them. If they're not listening to their answers, they've asked themselves a question, they're not listening to their answers, and then they can't, in a sense, blame themselves. I've been back here now, I think, for about 5-6 weeks, and I'm in my hometown in that same place where I left many, many years ago because it just wasn't happening for me. And I'm having the adventure of my lifetime. And even if my adventure of my lifetime is getting up in the morning and maybe doing a bit of writing or going and seeing a friend for lunch or something, it's an adventure, because life is taking on a really, in a sense, dynamic form. But the funny thing is that when it's looked back on this whole idea of this story of Zach and stuff, and when Zach first started doing this, then that whole dynamism was still going on there as well. This whole, in a sense, I used to use the term radical acceptance. This radical acceptance of life was still going on there. In a sense, it's not a passive thing. There is this whole idea, one side of it, which is where the non-duality thing, in a sense, got caught up of, yes, there's no one existing and all that stuff. Then there's no one exists, there's no one to make choices. I can just sit there and I can just kind of, and in one sense, there's been this whole kind of, well, it's spiritual laziness and everything, argument thrown up and everything. But, that's irrelevant. I don't really want to kind of get into that because it doesn't really bother me. But the point is, when the whole thing is seen, then in this, there is that sitting, and there is that standing, and there is that moving, and there is that making choices, and there is that active decision making going on as well. There is that waxing and that waning as well, because it's just life. And then it becomes, when the whole thing is complete, it's okay to turn around to somebody and sort of like say, well, you don't exist, if that person's, in a sense, going to be that kind of person who's going to listen to that. But at the same time, it's an insult for somebody to turn around and say to somebody, you don't exist, you don't whatever. And it's like, sorry, what do you mean I don't exist?
Yeah.
My problems are for real and all this stuff. Are you joking, mate? And everything. And I can imagine people, see, in a sense,
those things are better left to
yeah.
discovery, you know, and they're not really
Yeah.
teachings. They're not really teachings, you know. And let's say, okay, somebody discovered that, but it wouldn't, and to me, it wouldn't be to really say it.
No,
You know, when you
exactly.
said,
It's just
let me say
bang.
this, you know, like when you said shuffling about, you know, and then we said, okay, well, it's because they've been
It's cool.
fed a line of baloney, you know, they've kind of been fed a line of baloney, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's really a strong line out there now. Is like the distinctions and explanations of the world is there's so many things going on, and there's so much right in your face with all the instantaneous news and so on. And I was
Yeah.
at a birthday party last night, see, and it was kind of like
Mm.
oldsters like me, but there was two daughters there, and they were like 24 and maybe 22, and they were
Yeah.
so innocent, and they had such beautiful ideals, and this
Mm.
one just actually sensed some kind of a rapport with animals, and she wanted to get involved with somehow training animals or
Mm.
being. So then she could sense some kind of an inner flow that really was beyond language, you know, and I kind of had this fear attack, like. There's such a mental structure about what the world is, the concepts of the world and how it runs, you know, and
Mm.
these two girls are being born into that, you know, or have
Mm.
been born into that. And I was just
Mm.
wondering if, you know, like it feels like it took me so many years to deconstruct it and not really take it so seriously, and thinking like, oh my God, you know, like whether they would be shuffling along after a few
Mm.
years, you know, because.
You know what it is? I've some friends. They're in a rock group and stuff. They're actually in America at the moment, and they did album launch in Coventry. They're actually from Coventry. There's some friends of the family and stuff. And basically, I met the lead singer, and I'm talking to the lead singer, and I had like, you know, an amazing conversation. And it was this whole young guy. He's going out there. He's done a few singles. He's gone to the South by Southwest festival going on in America somewhere and everything. And he had this conversation with his mother, and his mother he turned around to his mother and he went, "Oh, so and so made, I don't know, 200 grand in commissions or something, £200,000 in commission or something on property sales last year." And the mother turned around and went, "Oh, but you could be doing that." It's because the thing is this: we're being told in a sense, really to kind of conform. But what happens is sooner or later, people will conform to a certain level, and then sooner, like you said, you start deconstructing, and you get to that point where you kind of go, "Hold on, there really is nothing else I can do. There really isn't another job that I absolutely want to do, or there's another relationship that I want to engage in, just for sort of like, in a sense, instantaneous gratification, because the entire thing now is being built on instantaneous. It's like countries go to war. It's instantaneous. I can see soldiers fighting and dying instantaneously on Sky News or on CNN or whatever. And we have a myriad of ways of communicating. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have this, we have that, and I can instantly message someone around the world, and yet communication is breaking down. The very simple art of having a conversation and actually discussing something has died. Because, yeah, okay, in one sense we can say, well, look, we're so much more open, but this openness is actually creating a closeness, because what really seems to be happening is there's a lot of fear kind of going on, a lot of images, a lot of ways we've got to kind of act in a certain way, and to, in a sense, really, and that's really a conflict that's kind of going on internally with a lot of people, and it's kind of, in a sense, manifesting itself, if manifesting is a good word for this, kind of externally, because this was the thing, you can lie to yourself so long, and then sooner or later that lie comes back and hits you. It's not really karma. That would be, in a sense, a much more simplistic way of kind of pointing it. And it's not karma. It's not kind of going into that route. But that's what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing, in a sense, is that this thing is all just kind of, in a sense, blowing up on itself. But in a sense, it will be returned again to simplicity. It's the whole chaos theory. Out of chaos comes order, and out of order comes chaos. So in a sense, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking, and he went, "I just feel there's going to be a massive shift in consciousness and stuff."
Yeah. Okay,
And
let me put this out. Let me
yeah.
put this out because
Mm-hmm.
let me see if I can weave this story. Okay, so like what's blowing up? What's blowing up is just our
Perceptions.
our concepts.
Exactly.
And you
That's
said we're at war and all this stuff, and okay, the old concepts are still real strong. Like, okay,
Of
there's
course.
a no-fly zone over Libya. That's old. We were doing that already, right? And now
Yeah,
they're saying
exactly.
now they're saying maybe we should arm the rebels. Oh my God. You know,
That should be interesting.
In other words, we're just trying to figure out how more people can commit carnage, right? And the
Do
whole
you know
idea
what?
is that
Have we
there's
not already
enemies,
armed them?
there's enemies, and there's rebels, and there's
Yeah.
dictators. All that stuff is a concept. All
Yeah.
that stuff is a concept, and we're just going down that same road, and it's going to blow up for sure. You know,
It's life, but I think what's happening is more people are kind of waking up to all of this.
Okay, now check this
See,
out.
this,
Now
this,
let
this
me
is the thing.
structure this. You
Mhm.
know, okay. So now, what could be an alternative? Just for the hell of it, I'll throw one in. Nike Foundation, and you could say they're trying to sell shoes to the world or something like that. But anyhow, they came up with this thing called girleffect.org, and it's financed by
That's
them.
on your website, isn't it?
Yeah, I just put that up.
I like it. Nice little shout out there, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
now listen to this.
like
Now listen to this. Okay, like girleffect.org is just saying that, okay, one of the main problems of poverty, one of the main problems of poverty is that there's 600 million girls under the age of 18 that live in poverty, and 50 million of them are 12. And they've seen it as 12 as kind of like a pivotal age because, like, people consider that as a woman and they engage them and then they marry them off at 13 or 14. And so then it could be two ways, you know. They could be married and have a lot of kids, you know, and they get an old guy and he gives a couple cows to the family to get the girl. Or it could be that they don't have any family and they're just out on the streets and then they're pregnant and you know, they're trafficked. And that's another problem. They're trafficked. Okay, so then what if we did something like this now? Just like taking the idea of girleffect.org, that we just said, okay, Gaddafi, do this, you know, give everyone amnesty. And then what we'll do is we'll give you $300 million a year to you, Gaddafi. And you take $1 million a day and give every 12-year-old girl a cow. You know and
what?
let her develop that cow and sell that milk and support her family there with that, you know. Let it be a pregnant cow so she'll have a calf in a bit, you know. And then when she's 12, okay, and so she doesn't have to get married to get a cow into the family because she's got one. Gaddafi gets the money and he just gives the cows out, you know, or we could give the cow. Okay, $1 million a day. Let's say there's 5 million in Libya. If you work it out, there's probably 5 million girls that are 12 years old this year. So you need 5 million cows, right? And
you know what, Richard, your point, you know what you're doing. You're actually skirting around the issue. I've got to jump in here because you know I'll have to cut you dead here. Let me tell you why I think that's a crazy one. Okay, a couple of years ago there was an earthquake in Kashmir. And what happened? Someone from the locality actually came around and they collected all this stuff and everything, and they went out there and they took all this stuff, all these supplies and everything to give to obviously the refugees. And I think the Disaster Emergency Committee in this country as well raised God knows how many millions. He got there and it was a case of like just local politicians, nepotism, you know, that kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff wasn't getting forward to the people, even though it had been faithfully promised, we will give you this much and you will engage in this much. Now, I agree where you're coming from, but the thing is this, it's like, there is a real chance in it. There is a real, in a sense, ability to make a change happening right now. However, in a sense, not from the ideas of the past. These are just, in a sense, ideas being kind of repackaged again and everything. And it's
well, they're quite different. They're quite different. Let me just say this, though. They're quite different than arming the rebels. That is really from the past.
I totally agree with you, but I'm talking about something a lot better than this. And the thing is, it kind of goes full circle right back to what we said, and it's in a sense a practical way, and people will, in a sense, I'm not saying this is what should happen, but the thing is this: it's really just an internal thing that's going on. And this is what's got to happen. In a sense, people have got to ask these questions and stuff, because you are right. It's like this: if I throw money at a spoiled child, then that spoiled child will keep demanding. If I throw stuff at somebody, they will keep demanding. And this is a thing. In a sense, what we're talking about is, and this is where really, in a sense, with this whole thing that we've just talked about for the last 10 minutes, we've just kind of completely gone off track here, is that there is really, in a sense, a very dynamic way of living, however you want to say it, for someone or no one or whatever. And that's kind of in a sense showing itself now. I've always kind of long asserted that there has to be in a sense like this kind of internal revolution kind of going on now, because the thing is this, what's happening now is we are watching all this instant gratification and everything is actually in a sense a massive question. And that question is, okay, right, I'm giving you all this instant gratification, and somebody's kind of going, hold on, what does this all mean? And that's why, in a sense, you're seeing people, in a sense, kind of wake up here now. That they're finding, and what happens is that in that sense, that process, it simplifies itself, and then simplification happens, and then it's a case of, okay, look, how do I go about doing this? And in a sense, life is engaged, but in a much more, not even the term positive really isn't enough, because it's not a positive, it's more than that. And that's it. And that's the whole thing. And that's what, in a sense, has been talked of throughout the ages. What's happening to us is nothing new. 100 years ago, they were having the same problems. They had coal engines, and then somebody comes along with steam, and they're like, hold on, whoa. That was their internet going on there. And that's what it is. As an age, we're just kind of trying to grapple with the fundamental ideas of life. And the fundamental ideas and truths of life are really an internal thing that has to kind of be solved within ourselves. That's why, if we really kind of like bring all of this together, it's really in a sense of you ask yourself the questions. You do what you feel is right. If you feel it's right to sit at the feet of a master, then do that. If you feel it's right to walk away from that, then do that. If you feel it's right to talk in a certain way, do that. If you feel it's bollocks to talk that way, then do that. Because the thing is this, the question and answer session is actually all just going on here. It's all kind of in a sense going on here. But then what happens is when the question, here's the answer and vice versa, and then it kind of goes. It's a case of, hold on, there was that perfection all the time. So it's really, the perfection was kind of in a sense going on all the time, and then there's more in this in a sense a dynamic living. At the end of the day, we can have this as a concept, or we can make this a very, very practical thing, and the practical thing starts with you. That whole be the change. There's that whole thing that attributed to Gandhi of be the change that you want to see in the world. It's one of these overly used things, but never really in a sense understood. It's like it happens, right here. I am that which I seek. I mean, he who recognizes himself recognizes his Lord. Okay, we'll move it around. He who recognizes himself recognizes society, and in that sense, then society happens. There's something you're saying about these two girls at a party. It really does kind of, in a sense, come down to, in a sense, perceptions, questions, answers, and that kind of thing. Like you think it's right. We're reading about the war in Libya. Yeah, that girl wants to work with animals, or another girl somewhere, or another guy somewhere is falling in love right now, and to them the world is an amazing, beautiful, beautiful place, and their very thinking is in a sense making everything around them beautiful and stuff. And in a sense, that's where, in a sense, the joy comes from. It becomes a very dynamic thing. It's like weeks ago I met these hippies over at the Moss Kitchen in Edinburgh, and the guy was like, yeah, so he's going to get it and all this stuff. And I was like, look, if there is hate and you fight hate with hate, what have you really kind of done? You've just compounded it. You've just doubled it. You hate them. You come at them from a position of love. Now what? But not in a sense of you show me your gun and I'll put a flower down there. In a very dynamic way, not in something that has to be done. In a sense, you can relate to a spiritual thing, not in a sense of something that has to be done. It's something that just is. It's just happening, and it has its own answers, and it knows what it is, and it dynamically engages life because it sees that I'm engaged in this life. It's not separate from me. It's not separate from me at all. But I just know that, look, I've got to engage it this way because this is the way society's. You're not separate from the moon if you really want to argue it that way. But the thing is, it's there. It's here. And in that sense, you do your thing. It waxes and wanes. Like you said, the moon waxes and wanes. It goes up and it goes down. It's everything is an answer. Every little thing is an answer. You pick up that glass of water right now. You have have a glass of water. That's an answer to your question of I'm thirsty. And this is the thing. The whole thing is dynamic. Even the seeking, as it's seeking it simultaneously. And even if it's a seeker's going, I don't really kind of get this. I don't really know this and everything. It's simultaneously. He's still answering himself. Because it's amazing the amount of times you talk to a so-called seeker, and they'll talk clarity, and you'll be like, "Sorry, mate, why are we talking again? Sorry, what are you looking for again?" And then the yeah, but comes in, which is just another question, but in a sense, it's just happening in them. But that's where the perfection lies, in the waxing and waning. There's bad things happening, but simultaneously there's good things happening, and it all balances itself out. And then when that balance is kind of seen, hold on, it's kind of life. That's where the whole idea of the moon is there and I'm here kind of in a sense just kind of goes, and it's seen as yeah, okay, fine. Do I really have to wax lyrical about the fact that there's no separation between me and the moon? No. I just appreciate it. It's a beautiful thing. I'm looking out my window and I see this. Sometimes I look out the window, I see these stars, and I think, wow, incredible. Because that's authentic. Not, wow, there isn't a separation between me and that moon, because that's the concept. And that in a sense is, yeah, okay, fine. And yeah, we can argue that, yeah, that is the moon and I'm the moon and moon is me and everything is another way of communication and stuff. But in a sense, let's really, in a sense, kind of, let's be real. Let's be real, because that, in a sense, in if we relate this to world politics and affairs and stuff, in saving yourself, you save the world, and in saving the world, you save yourself and stuff. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be something outside you. It doesn't have to be
Well, in
anything
many
out there.
ways, like we are one in the world, and we're affecting all parts of the world, in many ways.
Of course we are.
And but it's not very conscious. It's kind of unconscious. Like one way we're affecting because at least two
I'm so
thirds.
glad you said that.
At least 2/3 of the world is really kind of like in a rough shape.
You know what it is? The thing is this. It's funny you should say that we're affecting it, but unconsciously. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's
Well, just by eating bananas.
Yeah.
Just by eating bananas. I mean, like bananas United Fruit and Del Monte and blah blah. They have really subjugated and actually enslaved
take it away. Make
massive
it even
people, massive amounts of people just that get $1 a day for 10 hours of work in the banana fields, and they get poisoned like hell because bananas are the most sprayed thing, and they're all sick. And we just keep buying bananas, and then that's the only way we're affecting the world, And we're also probably affecting Africa and Asia and other, Bangladesh in the same way, but we don't. It's unconscious. We don't know. It's just.
So how do we change that?
Well, how about that Nike thing? What if we said, okay, for $1 million a day, we could give every girl in Libya a cow on her 12th birthday, and we'd have to work it out with Gaddafi so that there was a law that said that 12-year-olds are allowed to own stock.
Okay.
And not be interfered with their parents and have their father take it away, or not be interfered with the government saying that those we get 1/10 of all those cows or whatever, and just let them make a little business out of it. I think that the way they started Nike or this girleffect.org is they didn't even give the cows; they just gave microloans, and the girls bought them.
Take that away. Now take that away. Let's strip this down.
Okay, strip it down. Right on.
Strip that down. Okay, yeah. Take that idea away. How do you change it?
Okay, what do you mean by take that idea away?
Take it away.
Okay, so that idea is gone now, and then we're one world, and there's conflict in certain parts of the world, and maybe our government is supporting that conflict and making it more virulent. And so then, in that sense, we're doing it because the money for our government comes out of our own pockets, so that we're just about to sell $1 billion worth of arms and make a war in Libya. We're so that's what's happening now, and I would like to take that away. Is actually what I would like to take away.
Okay, so the thing is this: what it basically is. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I keep referring to this friend of mine. I'm waiting for him to come out to play. I've been told he's coming out to play, but there you go. And he said something to me, and he goes, and I'm finding that this thing, you can actually play with it. And I was like, okay, and it can be manipulated. It can do what you want it to do. And I was like, really? How interesting and stuff. And why I've said that, I don't know. But the point is the thing is this is when the ideas and concepts are all kind of thrown out, what's kind of in a sense really left behind is just you. When all the drama is cut out, when all of that is cut out, what's left is you. And then you're in a sense not even really in a sense talking to yourself. People kind of say, I'm watching this thing. Yeah, the thing can be watched. It can be watched. But there's a point where the thing watching and the thing actually looking, the thing watching the thing is actually the same thing. And there's just this immense freedom. And then what happens is the very act of living becomes almost, in a sense, just divine, if you really want it. Now, this isn't in some sort of I'm going to get all cosmic on you, or I'm going to get all kind of religious on you or anything. What happens is life becomes a very dynamic thing. Things are kind of, in a sense, seen. Why? Because it becomes a simpler way of living. In a sense, when everything, in a sense, is stripped away, there's in a sense, this whole letting go of all of this crap. and it's just authentic, and it's just what happens is it's like, I mean, it's even talked of in stories, the emperor's new clothes. When you become that voice where you kind of go, hold on, wait, the emperor really isn't wearing any clothes, then it becomes real and it becomes authentic. And then when that drama is all kind of in a sense cut away and all this stuff, then what happens is it just goes out, and that changes. And that's what we're in a sense seeing, because people are asking themselves the right questions. People are in a sense asking, people even outside all of this are asking themselves all these questions. And now you see it, you talk to people and you think, whoa, you'd never have had these conversations years ago. But this is the thing, life is demonstrating an amazing thing that's happening right now, in a sense, right now, immediate and dynamic and alive, and really, really, in a sense, practical. Not some airy fairy, some guy wrote a book in some far off land and stuff. Or, don't get me wrong, that part had to happen. That point had to go on. That had to kind of happen to kind of get to this. And that's what's making things really, really interesting. And that's why, in a sense, it is a question and answer session going on in a massive way right now. And what always happens at a question and answer session is it has to come to an end and has to be resolved. And that's what's kind of going on right now. And that's what's going to make life so amazing, because it's a case of just, it's becoming so much more real. It's really all about simplicity. It's really all about just cutting away a lot of this stuff that, you don't really, in a sense, need. A lot of people know what they need to do to kind of turn their lives around. I remember talking to someone, we were talking away, and she kept going, yeah, I know that. And it was like, well, that's lovely that you know all of that, so why aren't you doing it? And it was a case of, yeah, I'll start tomorrow. It's like, look, there's no tomorrow in this. You just do it right now. In this case, it was about losing weight and stuff. It was just like, you don't start tomorrow. It's about now. It's about immediacy. Because the thing is, if it is really all happening right now, if this entire lifetime is happening in an instant, then it really is whatever happens right now is what counts. And that's what makes it such a beautiful thing. That's why, in a sense, that's where the change happens. That's where the whole change happens. It all starts right there in that moment and stuff. And that's how it affects it, but not in some kind of a cosmic far out way. And that's where, in a sense, that's why I was saying, let's carry on these chats. Let's carry on with this stuff, because there's just stuff, in a sense, formulating. It becomes like, in a sense, and you're seeing it as well. People are kind of saying, look, the old concepts have not served as well. They've not done this. They've not done that. Because the reality is they already know the answer. You already know it. That's why you're saying it. But, somebody turns and goes, well, I was talking to this guy and he was like, consummate seeker's been doing it for years and stuff. And he was like, yeah, this stuff's all sounding like this. And also, so you already know then, because you feel something is wrong. Did somebody tell you that? No, I just feel something's wrong. And so, well, then you know it.
So the questions dry up.
Oh, of course they do. The questions and answers are all the same thing. This is, what was it? I don't even know why I'm going to say this quote, but I watched it in this trailer. There's this new film come out called Guru, his bodyguard and his secretary. It's about Osho, and there's this cool bit where he just turns around and he goes, I don't intend to give you any answers. The way he speaks, because you have far too many already. And that's the whole thing. It's just point that question up, yeah? And just put that question up, say, yo, it's a really dynamic, amazing way of living. And then somebody say, how? And I say, I don't know, you answer it, mate. And that's when, you whirl around yourself and you just kind of go, okay, right, hold on, I don't get this. That whole, I don't get it bit always has to resolve. It's exactly the same way. Like you said, the moon has to come out at a certain time. It has to go down at a certain time. The sun has to come out. The sun plays and everything. And that's a beautiful thing. You should really get into poetry.
I'm stimulating it. I got the poetry
That's
corner.
Good.
I got the poetry corner on the website. A lot of people are
you are
putting it on.
starting to. I'll have to contribute some poems to it then. In that case, do you know what I mean, and everything. But you know what? This is the beautiful thing now. You're starting to get less and less wordy now, which is a cool thing. You're starting to hang with it. Maybe we might do an interview with you without a tie on as well. But that. I heard a rumor once. I don't know if this is true, that you did an interview once, and apparently you took your tie off. And you took your shirt off as well. I heard
there's one there.
Top styly or something like that.
Still on the line. It's still online. I think it's.
Is it still online? I got to look. No, I heard about this. I heard apparently you were in such great ecstasy and stuff, or something like that. And I was like, no, man, geezer probably just got really, really hot and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
No, Ted Strauss. I think it's with Ted Strauss.
I won't even say what you and Ted were up to. Where you were.
Right.
Geez, it's so good, man. But no, so there you go. It's just a very, you could just kind of end it with saying, yeah, it's just engage life, do life, forget all this crap, put it aside. Go out there, make love, do amazing things. You know what I mean? Just do whatever you want, and it will always kind of work itself out. It will always work itself out. And the best bit is then you will see that when it works itself out, that hold on, I was always that thing.
I'm finding that, I'm really finding that it's easier and easier to just go out and do life, and I'm just finding that looking back, I was always had an excuse to not do life and to say no, not this, no, not that. I'm too busy here. No new appointments. And no was such a strong answer for me then in those days.
Well, it's like the paradox. Something I remember writing God like about a year ago, and I just threw it in the bin afterwards. It was like, there's this moment of separation, and the seeker kind of turns around and goes, look, I want to, in a sense, learn this thing in enlightenment so I can be more open. Yet they go away. So they close themselves off because they want to be more open, but they stress the concept of individuality in it. I am looking for something. I am going to do something. I am going to become something. Well, that's not very open. And the very act of seeking reinforces separation then. And it's a case of, stop doing that. It's like something I always kind of say to people now, just stop that, forget it, leave it. And when people sort of say, but I've got to know this, it's like, sorry, what have you got to know? What's there to know? Can you tell me what there is to know? And they're like, I don't know, but I know I've got to know it. And it's like, well, why don't you just forget about it? And that's it. But even then, that's the mind being the way it is. Somebody says, forget about it. Great. That's another little technique there. Then in that case, forget about it. I'll go away from it.
Yeah, then you'd say, I have to forget about it. I have to forget about it. You got to ask them, well, who is this I that needs to do anything, right?
Yeah, the best one I ever heard was, what was it? What can I do to be free? Nothing. All right, so I can do nothing then. So now you're doing nothing. And it's like, yeah, but you're still doing something. It's called nothing. And that's the whole thing. It's just a very... It's funny because the language becomes the language. The language kind of frees you, but it enslaves you as well. And it's like the whole damned if you do and you're damned if you don't as well, happening at the same time. And it is funny because whatever you say will kind of, in a sense, be brought up and kind of cross-examined. And it's like, well, if you're cross-examining everything I'm saying, you really didn't get it, did you? But there you go. And that's it, really.
How great, Zach.
Listen, we're gonna carry on talking and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day out there, no doubt, and stuff.
Yeah.
And
let's get some sun today.
Listen, I'm working on the tan, man. I'm looking a lot better than you, I must admit.
Oh, yeah, right. No, yeah. It's just we're just getting a little sun.
Listen, if you get yourself a bit more sun, then I can just call you my long lost brother out there in the
right.
wild wilderness.
No, it'll take me a couple of months to get it on. I'm going to build a big garden.
There you go. You're gonna have to. But listen, it's been good as per usual, and no doubt we will speak soon.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Yes, thank you. Okay.
No, it's bye-bye.
Bye.